podcast about game development and the diverse people who make it. I'm Jasmine, a 3D environment artist from Cologne, Germany.
And my name is Ash, and I'm an environment artist here in North Carolina, USA.
So today we wanted to do things a bit differently than usual, and since it's December and the year's already over so quickly, and I can't believe it, we wanted to have an episode where we have a little chat with each other and introduce us to our listeners, because we didn't do that before yet, and recap the year and just have a little heart-to-heart with each other. It's a little cozy session, so get your cup of tea with us and we'll have a little chat.
Yeah. Like Jasmine said, like this year, when did the first episode of this podcast even come out? Was it September?
Yes. Yeah, it was September.
September. Man, like it feels like I know it feels like it's been so much like longer somehow, but I think it's probably because we started planning this thing in June. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it's been really cool so far, and it's been nice to get to know people that I, otherwise wouldn't talk to. It's been great to get to know you a lot better than before. Yay. Than maybe I would have before. And this year obviously has been a little rough for the world.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't really, I mean, you can, but I think there's a lot of adjustment that people have been having to do with their daily lives, and trying to get as much or even like a piece of the same amount of work done as they would before or whatever. So like how has been stuff for you so far this year, like working on art, or like how is it different for you this year as opposed to like years before or whatever? Like how are you feeling right now?
Oh, so it's quite hard to put into words sometimes, but it's weird because when everything started with the pandemic in March, I think, when everyone was getting serious about it, at least here, I was like, oh, this is going to be pretty easy for me because, I've been at home for most of my time, even during when we had normal university lectures, because I just prefer to be at home, and I'm pretty introverted, as Ash knows as well. So like the more I can avoid being in like public spaces or with a lot of people, I like to avoid that. It's okay with me. But the more time went on, and then we went back and forth in lockdown, right at this moment, I don't feel the same like in March. Like I feel like I'm coming to terms with it, but at some points I just feel so agitated and stressed and kind of down for no particular reason that I didn't experience before last year at this time. Like things that usually wouldn't annoy me really annoy me like 3 times more nowadays. And especially when you're working on your own art, makes it even worse. Like you have these expectations for yourself that you always have, but now they kind of feel like amplified by 3 times. I don't know if that's just me or if it's messing with me.
No, I think that's gonna be kind of like a thing that more people are going to feel, especially because art is so cerebral. Like it's so like it's about it can be about expression, but it can also be very introspective and reflective. And sometimes as artists, when we stay in our head so much, it can be very negative also, because we like like sometimes we need like to be around something else or someone else to kind of like regulate that. And since like the pandemic sort of thing is going on, it's harder to get that sort of experience without, possibly endangering yourself, and I think you're spot on. Like, for me, I'm not in school right now. I work a day job a couple days a week right now, but the same kind of similar challenges are happening over on my end, where in the beginning it's very like isolating, like early March, April or whatever, when stuff over here was kind of getting ramped up, people were like really, really locked down. Like I didn't do art for maybe like 4 weeks ish at all, because I was just so numb, kind of coping with what was going on. And it was just so weird because it was just like there was like a very real fear that if I went to the grocery store that I would get sick, you
Exactly.
know.
Same.
And like my parents are like older, like they're not old, but they're older, and so I didn't want to um put them in danger by, you know, even like going to the Asian food market and buying like stuff or whatever. Like I felt like everything was really, really dire. Not to say that it isn't right now, because it's still obviously very dangerous. And everyone should be watching out right now. But it was just kind of hard to deal with that because it's something that like no one has been able to really, like there's no one to really look to say this is how you deal with something like this. I guess like the last time, at least in America, something like that happened was like almost 100 years ago, 100-ish years
Yes,
ago.
it's not
uh
normal at all.
yeah, absolutely not. And so like kind of like trying to accept that it's kind of dangerous in a way that it hasn't been dangerous before for
Hmm.
me, as someone who's young, right? Like I'm only 25,
Yeah.
and I don't know how to deal with a pandemic. It it took a toll. It took a toll, and so art kind of suffered for that also.
Yeah,
Um,
it's interesting you're saying that because I also had these 2 months of kind of feeling stuck what to do with
yeah,
myself
yeah,
and the art that I was making because before that when because the pandemic just started right when I came back from Canada. So I had like this half a year of just working and not really doing art for myself. I was just
yeah,
doing the stuff for the internship. But it was also a very inspiring year because I got to know so many people. I socialized the most I've ever done probably before in my adult years, I would say. And
yeah,
so I came back and was like, yes, this is amazing. I will continue doing this and I will pour all this energy into art. But then we came back and I didn't even get to see my friends or anyone really except my
yeah,
mom. And we
yeah,
were just stuck at home. So, okay, so all these plans are kind of now chucked in the bin, I guess. And for
yeah,
2 months, it was also like this feeling of like being scared, not being able to do anything. So I really relate to what you were saying that for a specific amount of time, you wouldn't have the energy to put that into art because it is something very exhausting at the end to do. Like
yeah.
everyone says, oh, it's your passion, you should be feeling
No.
energized by it, but it's like, no, no,
No,
it's not
man.
like that.
No, it's really not. Like sometimes you sit down and you're like, "Ah, man, I have to do this again. Like this repetitive
Exactly.
task or whatever. Like I have to lay out UVs again. It's gonna take me forever
So
to do."
passionate. So much passion going into
I
that.
just love I just love laying out UVs, man.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the best.
Honestly, it's really like you're really lucky to be able to come back before things started ramping up, because I feel like if like you had not, you'd be stuck in Canada for a little bit.
Yeah, that
Would
was
you?
my fear as well because
Yeah.
like I wouldn't be able to afford it because I was living in an Airbnb, which is I wouldn't recommend that in hindsight to be honest. But yeah,
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't be able to sustain that for another 4 months or something because the border was
Yeah.
like closed so quickly. And I know people from Turkey, for example, they wanted to come back to Germany, and it took almost 3 months to
Oh my
get a
god.
flight back. So I feel really lucky that we got back just in time, but it also
Yeah.
felt super isolating. But I am lucky that I'm not living alone. Like as I said, my mum is here and my boyfriend, so at least we had each other. But as you said, I also had this fear that my mum might get sick because she's also in the
Yeah.
risk group. And she actually
Yeah.
got tested for the first time last week, twice actually, because got this app here that alarms you if you need to get tested, and it like
Yeah.
flared up twice. So I was
Mm.
just like thinking, oh god, if she's now infected, I can't deal with this. Please
Yeah. Oh, for
don't have this
sure.
happening. But everything's fine. But it's like this. It's something very close, and you don't know when it's gonna happen, what's gonna happen. So it's like a constant little stress reactor in your head, basically.
Yeah, yeah, it's like it feels like a looming shadow is the best way that I can describe it. And
Definitely.
it's almost like how like if anyone has issues with depression, then
Hmm.
or even anxiety, you kind of know that it's like it's always kind of
Yeah.
there, just like in different amounts, and it and the fear or like paranoia with Corona is kind of similar to that, where it's like, at least until we get, like widespread like vaccine applications or whatever, like it's just going to be here, and we just have to like kind of cope with it and deal with it, and it's really hard. I feel like, kind of like we said, like art is already hard under normal circumstances,
Exactly.
especially if you're doing like if you're having school and then you want to get personal projects done, or if you're like me and you have a day job and you have to come home and get projects done, or anyone who's like working in industry period and wants to get something else done, or even just like if you're working and that's like the only thing you do right now because you cannot like deal with the anxiety of doing something else right now. It's all hard. It's all hard. It's all hard. And I know you've probably seen these posts or whatever on Twitter, but I remember distinctly, like when the pandemic stuff started back in March, there was lots of Twitter posts about like if you're going to be home for the next 6 weeks or whatever because of lockdowns and things, you should spend this time learning like anything or a new hobby or a craft or whatever.
True, yeah.
And I was like so on the fence about it because like I am definitely like a type A person. I like to have lists and get things done and feel productive. But at the same time, that same sort of thing could be my downfall, where I feel like sometimes the way that I cope with anything, like if I feel insecure about myself or inadequate about anything, I am more likely to do more than I have to rather than like take a little bit of a break. And like I feel like some of that sort of idea that was running around on Twitter for a bit kind of like fed into that, where it's like, and it made me start to feel guilty because it was like, for these 4 weeks, why am I not doing like anything? Like I have time. It's not like I don't have time. Like why can't I like get my stuff together and just do things? But it's really fair, right? Like I don't know if you felt any pressure to like get a bunch of stuff done during that period or what.
It's true. I did actually have that pressure in my head because before that, I don't think yourself would get to the idea of having to set yourself that goal for 4 weeks. Like if I wouldn't have read these things, I'd be just like, okay, I'm just going to continue. I try to continue as usual, just do my best and, try to have a routine. But when I saw these things, I was thinking, oh, okay, so I have to find like a bigger goal for myself. You make use of these 4 weeks. And I think that feeds into this whole idea that that sounds like maybe a bit now exaggerated, but we as a society that we have to be constantly productive, even when there's times of uncertainty or times where you maybe need to step back a bit. And this was like this whole idea again, like, oh, you're staying at home, may as well do something about it. Like just being at home doesn't mean that you have nothing to do. It's like recently here, the government released a video just to like spread awareness about younger people staying at home, not meeting up with friends. And I like that sentiment. It's important to obviously share that. But the whole thing was more likely about that people are staying at home and doing nothing. So they should just continue doing that because they have nothing else to do anyway. So they should just continue being lazy, and that's good. But then I was thinking to myself, like, yeah, but in the past months, I've not been really lazy in that sense. Like I've been doing stuff, maybe not like significant stuff, but it's still like I'm trying to do my best. So I can see both sides. Like on one hand, it's important to not feel pressured by these outside pressures that people create for you. Because you as a person, that's what I've heard from you as well, you have ambitions and you set yourself goals and they're already like pressing enough. It's not like you need this extra pressure from like outside to tell you, okay, you need to have more goals now, you need to achieve more now. It's already a lot.
Oh, for sure. Like there's the amount of stuff that you could potentially try to do is just always going to be exponential, especially if you're like if you're a person who likes to do a bunch of things, which I guess I would consider myself as a person who likes to do a bunch of things. Like just this morning, I was looking up, like I was pretending I was in a world where Corona didn't exist and I lived in a bigger city. And I was like, oh man, what if I could take cake decorating classes? Now imagine what time would I have to take like a 2 hour, like I guess it would be like once a week or whatever. I found one was like once a week from 7 to 9 p.m. or
Oh,
whatever.
that'd be so nice though.
It would be really nice. And it was in Atlanta. I was like, oh man, what if I took like cake decorating classes? Because like I like to bake these days.
Yeah.
I should show you. I'm gonna make like a white chocolate mousse cake with a raspberry filling,
Oh my
chocolate
god.
cake base with a red mirror glaze on top for Christmas this
Oh
year.
my god. I'm
Um,
drooling already.
I wish I could. I wish I could bring you some. But like I looked at that, and then I was just looking at other like sort of baking, like pastry chef classes or
Yeah.
whatever, and then I found one where you could get like basically a certificate, and immediately I was like, what if I did that?
What?
That's so much more work than I probably should take on. But it's like just an example of like there's so many things that I could do, but
Yeah.
maybe it's not always going to be like the best thing for me to constantly try
Exactly.
to do everything. Um and just like try to chill out like a little bit
Yeah.
more or whatever. Like I know that um like at the beginning of the year I always write down more or less like some goals or whatever. I don't know if you can see them.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Yeah.
It's backwards, but stuff that I
Mhm.
want to do in 2020. Some of them are very like ambitious. I don't know what I was thinking on, December 26th, 2019. But like there's goals in here about like blog posts and like learning substance designer stuff. Some
Mhm.
of the stuff I have actually done
Yeah.
though. Like I've been learning modularity this year, which is
Mhm.
good. I've been studying Japanese more because I have a tutor. So
Mhm.
I've regained a sense of like proficiency there. So there's like stuff on the list that I've done, but it's
Yeah.
also kind of like trying to remember that if I am dead tired, that
Yeah.
it is okay to not do something, you know,
Exactly.
because this time is harder
Mhm.
than normal, and hopefully
Yeah.
you've been resting more too out here, in some way or form, like even if it's like like passive sort of like watching Netflix or something. Like sometimes that's really good and therapeutic to do.
It is actually, yeah, because you don't have to do anything. Like sometimes I feel even too tired to play games because you still have to
Yeah,
use your brain actively to do things. And I'm terrible at games. I'll say that. It's no
yeah,
lie.
that's fine.
I really need a while to finish levels. I really need a while to finish boss fights, and I'm not shy to ask for help and let my
Oh, of
partner
course.
do it for me. So that's good. Because I just want to enjoy the story. But it's so nice to just sometimes do nothing, like just to let your brain go on empty mode and just like, not think about anything for a while. And it's difficult to do that. Even that takes practice, I feel, because
Yeah,
even when I'm watching Netflix, sometimes I grab my phone and then I start like messaging back to people or
yeah,
looking
yeah, yeah,
something up that I wanted to read about. And it's like still not
yeah,
relaxing. Like I'm still doing random stuff and making my brain work in five
for
different ways
sure.
again.
Oh, for sure. Especially since I don't know if you have an Apple phone, but I have an Apple phone, and like with the newer updates, you can watch Netflix while you're in other apps.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Damn. No,
it'll
I've
be
got
like
the
a little.
Samsungs.
Oh, okay. I feel like other phones have been able to do that for a long time or whatever, like split screen or whatever. But basically,
Mhm.
like I could be watching Great British Bake Off and then be talking to you on Discord at the same time, which
Oh,
is nice. However, if
it's
it can be
risky.
really, it's risky. Like it can be very easy to just like never really take a moment for
Yeah,
yourself and just relax and
that's
stuff.
true.
Like when it comes to like the work that you've been doing or whatever, has there been any like projects or little things this year that that you're really proud of, I guess. Like I feel like this is kind of bleeding into topic 2,
It is,
low
yeah,
key.
that's true.
Uh but talk about your art stuff this year. Um what's
Um,
going on there?
So I think at the start of the year, I realized that I've hit a wall in my own art in a way that I felt like I knew about. For hand painting stuff, because for my older stuff, I've been doing a lot of hand painted stuff with no lighting, mostly just diffuse textures and stuff like that. And I felt like I've got good enough at it that there's now the moment there that I can swap to another thing and learn something new and elevate my art a bit, because I felt like I was just starting to do the same thing over and over, and it didn't
Mm.
really fulfill me anymore that much. But it's kind of scary at the same time, because I was like, okay, I'm good at this, and I'm getting, for example, job offers or people being interested in my art because of this. So is it
Mm.
like maybe even clever for me to do something else? But I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna do it. So and don't care about the outcome, because I knew that I'm not going to be as good as on at PBR or Substance Painter and Designer as I was with my other stuff, with Blender and just painting stuff. And that's when this year I actually started to get more into this um, part of my art journey, to learn things that I would be scared of before I wouldn't even consider myself doing. Like I would say
Yeah.
last year at this time, I wouldn't be thinking that now I'm not even painting anything anymore, and I'm just sitting in Painter and Unreal Engine most of the time, which is
Yeah.
quite a change in my mindset as well, because I'm thinking I shouldn't settle myself too quickly on something and be like, I'm going to just continue doing this forever now. Because that's what I used to think when I started with uni. I was like, oh, I'm going to do just hand painted stuff. That's my jam. I'm not going to do anything else. But now I'm just like, no, I can do anything. Like maybe at some point I'll do realism. Who knows? It's
Yeah.
open to discovery, and like don't put yourself in a box too quickly. That's what I really learned about it, I think.
Yeah, I think that's I've had a lot of conversations with a bunch of different people about that sort of,
Mm-hmm.
concept of like not putting yourself necessarily in a box, because I
Mm-hmm.
don't really you know I don't really feel at home in doing strictly one or the other. And I
Mm-hmm.
realize that like saying stylized versus realism, like this is the only like those are the only terms that we have to describe what people do. And I think like it's kind of a fault of language in a sense that that's like it makes it look
Yeah,
more polarized or binary than it actually is. Um
exactly.
but like I know for me, as I'm trying to find, what I feel comfortable with, there's things that I enjoy about like stylization, and there's things that I enjoy and appreciate about more like more detailed realistic things, and that's something that I'm trying to push myself into with
Mm-hmm.
my current project. I can probably show you where it's at.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I'll just show you where it's at, and we'll get some pictures of my work in
Mm-hmm.
progress in there. So this is my where my project is right
Oh,
now.
awesome.
Um
Love it.
wow, the mannequins are in here. We need to get rid of those. But um it's not like there's elements of like stylization in here because it's
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
like pushed colors or whatever, which is what I want. But what I'm trying to get more and more comfortable with are like getting more detailed with assets and things like
Yeah.
that. And because that's something that I've been afraid of because I wasn't taught how to
Mm-hmm.
do that at all in school, like, not even remotely close
Yeah, I
with it.
feel you.
Yeah. And so like I developed a fear that I'm trying to, like kind of tackle this year.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of like where like it's been really rewarding, but then also really scary at the same time.
Yeah.
Because like it's not it's not at my comfort zone at all.
No,
And
that's
like
really fair.
yeah. If I could show you like where I like
Mm-hmm.
actually started, like
Mm-hmm.
the stuff that I graduated from school with or whatever,
Yeah.
like it was so much like not like that. Like it was like the stuff that I was doing before was like this basically.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, which is so much different than this.
Yeah.
Like the jump is like so big,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
I was so afraid to do that because it was like new territory, but I think
Hmm.
like what I'm trying to do is like kind of face my fears in that way. Um and it's oh goodness. I could go on and on and on. But that's been like this project has taken me a long time for multiple reasons. Like I
Hmm.
work and I get tired, and sometimes I don't want to do any art. Sometimes I would rather, just exist and look at
Yeah.
YouTube videos. Um but it's been like a huge growing experience for me, and um yeah, like I totally understand like trying to push outside of your comfort zone because that's constantly what we have to do, right?
Definitely. That's it's scary. Like you said, it's so hard to take that jump initially, especially if you had been doing different stuff before that, because you're also doing a big scene right now, and doing
Yeah.
that brings so many new challenges. I've been experiencing that right now with my university project because it's open level, and I've only been doing like fixed, not fixed positions necessarily, but from one view
Angle.
angle
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of environments. But this thing I have currently is like a longish temple that needs to look good from any point of view you walk around it as a
yeah. Yeah,
character.
yeah. But
So it's been very headache inducing, but also very rewarding because I realized what I was lacking in challenging myself because I didn't do that before. And it's nice to realize, okay, I'm hitting a wall, but I'm hitting a wall for a reason, kind of. It's not
mm,
going, because if it would go 100% smooth, then it's like, okay, you're pretty comfortable with this at this point. So you're doing
yeah.
everything that's familiar to do in a way, but it's also very demotivating at the same time. Like for the
Oh.
past 2 weeks, I've been feeling so down about it because nothing I was doing was
Mhm.
working. And now this week, I suddenly like it works a bit better now. Like I still have a lot to
Yeah.
do, but I'm like I can see that it's getting somewhere. So I think that's so it's fair that these things take a while. Like it's totally
Yeah.
fine, and it's good that it's taking a while because you're making sure that you're going through every step of the production pipeline. You're making sure that you're iterating, that you're open for changing things when you see it doesn't work, and that will
Yeah.
happen ultimately with any project in the end.
Yeah.
And with this, you have like this playground to try these things out.
Yeah, yeah, I like a quick short example with this project. Like I know that before there were like I had a whole area in here. I was struggling with this corner. And basically I made some horrible I'm sitting in chat right now. I made some horrible um scale mess ups where the room was massive. Like basically it was like a drawing room from like for like the Empress of the World. It was that big.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh man, I need something to go in the space. And then I was like, oh man, what if I had stairs? Now the idea of the stairs was like a cool idea. And then when I right and the way that I even started making those stairs was because I was asked by my mentor to fix the roof and make sure it was all or like the
Ah,
ceiling and make sure it was all like lined up modularity
yeah,
wise in the correct units. And in doing that, I found problems with the scale. So then I had to scale it down twice and scale up the assets in the scene like twice. And then
yeah,
after that, I was like, something still feels wrong. And so I got rid of the stairs. It made the room narrower, and that was what fixed it. And it was like I spent 2.5, 3 weeks trying to fix this thing, and then I had to get rid of it. And so it's just like you were saying, where it's like you
yeah.
do stuff and then you have to get rid of it, and it was totally a like a feels bad man moment. But in the end, no, you can't laugh as much. Don't laugh at me, no.
No,
It
no,
was
I feel
like
you because it's really
you're laughing with me. It's fine. It
exactly.
it was like it's better for you know that difficult area, and I think it's part of that art thing that I hate, but it's what it's what I needed at the
Yeah,
time.
it,
Um,
it's it's so funny because I remember when you messaged me about the scaling issue, and I was like thinking, yeah, this is like super important to take care of. And then
Yep.
a week later, I was playing my level, and then my partner came over, right? And he was looking at my level. He's like, Jasmine, just sit down a second. Did you actually look at the scale of this thing? It's like, yeah,
Oh,
it's the right scale. I've had the character in Blender. It's like, yeah, but this temple looks like actually an ant, and everything is so huge. Like, how are we going to fill this up? And I'm like, yeah, that's why I hate this thing, because it's so huge. And then we looked at it for
yes.
like, it's like, it makes it so
Yes.
bad when it's so huge. It makes it
Yes.
worse.
Yeah, and then like the stress of
That's
like thinking like in your situation, like if I'm as small as an ant, like the potential stress of thinking about how much I have to fill this space. That was something that I was trying to
exactly,
figure out
yes.
because I was like, I don't really want to make more big furniture assets. That's going to take a
Yeah,
lot more time, but it seems like there's no choice but to do that because there's so much empty space and it feels awkward. And I guess in your sense, it's like where I can only put so many altars. I'm just assuming I can only put so much stuff in here.
yeah.
Well, I have to make more, and then like maybe the solution is to just make it smaller. Which sometimes you drag your feet to do that because it's like I want it to feel grand and big and lush, but then maybe not.
That's the thing. Because then as soon as I scaled it down by, I think, half a unit, or was it even
Oh my
2 units,
goodness.
it was fine. Like, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, this makes sense. Like, this is like a normal sized. It was really weird because I have like these big arches and stuff. I can actually show you that too.
Yeah, I would love to see because like basically part of my scale problem was like ooh pretty part of my scale problem. Oh my goodness, this looks so good.
So this was the old scale.
Uh-huh.
The character was there,
Yeah.
if you can see him.
Oh my word. That's so small.
I know, and it's just like, yeah, maybe it's just a huge temple, because the whole thing is there's a hippo in the temple as well, and he's huge. And I was
Oh,
thinking,
cute.
okay, maybe this hippo owned this temple, so he's lived there. But this is obviously not the scale.
Yeah.
Like, it makes no sense whatsoever. So I scaled it all down, and now the character actually, like, when he stands on stuff, it makes sense. Like, you can walk through the
Yeah.
gateways, and it doesn't look like an ant. So
Oh
it's
yeah.
not too
Yeah,
bad
that
anymore.
totally feels better. Oh man. Like I know with mine, like and this is something that I'm still trying to like learn with scale is that like so this is honestly part of the problem with being used to everything in freedom units, aka feet, is that I had my wall pieces as 3 meter wide pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And in my mind, I was like, that's fine because if it's 3 units, it's totally just 3 feet. And then
Yeah.
like 3 weeks ago, I was like, wait, 1 meter is 3 feet. Wait.
Oh no.
And so like the room was like 45 square feet or something,
Oh
like, and it
no.
was like a square. And I'm like, this is massive. Like the room I'm in isn't even that big. And and like my space is probably not bigger than this. So then I was like, and then I looked up the size for like a big-ish like living drawing room, and it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, so like at the biggest it might be like 30 feet by 27,
Yeah.
28. And then I was like, oh my goodness. And that's like in like modern terms, in like Victorian era times, it probably would have been even smaller and more cramped. And I was like, oh no, what have I done? And it was like such a problem. And I hate it. Like that was like kind of a low point for me where I felt just so stupid because I was
Yeah.
like you've heard people like drill into your head that like scale is important, and you didn't even have like a like I remember like doing some assets near the beginning where it was like this chair looks a little small for some reason because I made it to like real world units basically, and I was like, this is a little small for the room, I'll just make it bigger, without thinking maybe the room was too big, maybe the room was the problem.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
it's true. It's like, well, we shouldn't feel stupid for that, because then we're learning through it, and now
Yeah.
you're not alone. We both had
Yeah.
a train of thought in a similar time frame. Even.
We just want grand spaces.
Exactly. We're thinking big. So,
Thinking big, like that. It's the problem of ambition, perhaps,
exactly.
which is should be curbed, perhaps. Just calm down.
But it's good to have that. I think it's better to have more ambition than too little.
Oh,
That's
true, true, true,
that's
true.
a real, because it's hard to find then that initial drive to even do things. But in this
Yeah.
case, we have to even hold ourselves back not to go too much above
Oh
and
yeah.
beyond.
I know,
Maybe.
I know, like I already know I already know what I want to do for my next project actually, and I'll send it in chat for you. Um, and I know it's going to be a problem. I found the artist on Twitter, so I'm gonna ask them for permission. But I want to make this.
Yeah, that's really cool. I
Yeah, and
love
it's
this.
like it has the sort of like end goal that I kind of want for myself, where the geometry itself is more detailed, but maybe there's like the chance for stylization in like textures and like kind
Hmm.
of like colors and things like that, pushing that. So that's what I would like to do. And even that's like ambitious. I'm like, wow, this is gonna take me like 7 months to do.
That's fine. It's fine. Don't you worry.
Yeah, yeah. I'm excited to do it. I just have to get through this thing that I'm doing first. I was just gonna ask you like about you yourself as a person, like kind of separate from art, like if you've learned anything about yourself this year. Um,
Ooh, that's a good one.
Deep? Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think I think I learned that I'm more extroverted than I might have thought of myself.
Ooh. Ooh. Nice.
Because last year I would just always say, yeah, I'm completely introverted. I'm
Yeah.
not really into like social gatherings and stuff. But this year, having the lack of social gatherings and seeing people made me realize that I really miss that, and that I'm craving for it almost. That to the point when we did meet our friends after 5 months, I was like so excited, and I just couldn't stop talking, and we just wanted to like touch on every topic we missed out on in the past months, and felt like we should do that again. And I felt like we should all go on a holiday together, but obviously we can't do that
Oh
now.
my
And it's like
god.
all these
You
things.
so many times I will like message a friend because like this year was supposed to be the year that I was supposed to go to GDC, which would have
Oh
been my
yeah.
first trip cross country by myself in San
Oh
Francisco. I was looking so much forward to like going to
yeah.
San Francisco and seeing everyone. And so every now and then I'll message one of my close friends. It'll be like, you know how we were supposed to go, like at least like once a week, or we'll
Yeah.
talk about like next time we get to go in like 2027,
Oh
and and we're like, in 2027, when we actually finally get to go to GDC, we're gonna get a big house and have like just 5 people in the house so that we can just hang out all the time. Because
yes.
it's so sad this year, and it's so interesting that you found out that you're more extroverted. Like that's so awesome.
Yeah, I didn't really expect that, because I think that extrovertness came out when I was in Canada, because I had really great people around me who kind of made me go out, and we explored so much stuff together. And I really enjoyed that, because I didn't have much of that before, except with my partner. Like having a bigger group of friends doing that in person is really different to like being online most of the time and talking to
Yeah.
people. It's a different experience. But another thing I think that's important to say this year, I realized that I need to set more boundaries, because I'm very
Mm.
much a person who likes to do things for people. I don't like to say no sometimes, which is a bad trait, I think, because I
Yeah.
really enjoy helping people. But sometimes that ends up in people crossing the boundaries and being like, in a way, kind of expecting me to do things for them, even though I might not
Mm.
have the time or the energy to do that. And as soon as I say
Yeah.
no, it will end up in this thing like, oh, you never said no, though. Why now?
Mm.
And that's something I tried to do this year. So by just not maybe answering people instantly, or like not like saying for once, oh, I can't do this for now. I'm sorry, I don't have the time or the mind for it. And then I realized, when you are honest with people in this way and just tell them that you're not up for it, they're okay with it. It's not such a big thing that I made up in my mind that I need to be present at all times for everyone and agree to everything, in a sense, to please people, but myself. But
Mm.
nowadays it's like, I know that I have to take the time for myself and think of myself sometimes too. And I've been trying that. And I realized it's a family trait. It just seems to be something that I always had, that I like to go above and beyond to do things for people, but not really thinking about the consequences that I might have for myself uh, in the long run.
Yeah. 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 That's learning how to say no is hard. I'm not the best at it either. Um, because especially when it comes to like friends too. Like like setting
It's
boundaries
true.
with friends, like saying like, um, there was a point this year where I had to tell like a friend like I can't talk about this right now because it's like stressing me out and it's something that like mattered to them, which kind of
Hmm.
like it was really rough, doing that because like they're my friend. But at the same time, like I feel like I will be a better friend if I can take care of myself. Um, and it's thankfully no one's interpreted it as like a selfish sort of thing, like oh, like he doesn't care, but more just like people have been really respectful of it. Like you said, like if you're just like honest about how you feel about something, um, hopefully like since you're around good people, like people will, understand that
Yeah,
and be chill about it, which is great. Love that. Hopefully we can set some more boundaries in the next year.
definitely. Let's set that as a mini
As
goal.
a goal, as a goal, something like the reason why I'm so interested with you saying that you're an extrovert, right, is that I've been a lot of my close friends are introverts. They just are. And I think it has something to do with art. It just
It's
happens.
true. Yeah.
Um, like, and I like how do I even begin to talk about this? Like in college, I was very jealous of introverts because and I really wanted to be an introvert, like really, really bad.
It's
One of
interesting.
my oh man, so bad I wanted to be an introvert and I would confide in my close friend at the time. I was like, listen, like being an extrovert isn't even that great. Like being an introvert is better because you get to be seen as more intelligent and like extroverts have this like sort of like extrovert extroversion can kind of be seen as like people who are invading people's like privacy and personal
Ah,
space
okay. Yeah.
kind of because we want to do things or whatever. And so I kind of despise being an extrovert. And so I kind of got like because my friends were introverts, and then when I moved back home, like I didn't really have any like friends from college who lived where I lived, so I was kind of by myself. I kind of tried to embrace introversion,
Mhm.
more introverted ways because of like just like the circumstances or
Yeah.
whatever. And um, only the past couple months, like I've been more active in Discord and hanging out with people in voice chat, and I realized just how thirsty I've been for social interaction
Hmm.
for the past like 3 years. And like it's been great to be able to get off of work and know that there's people that I can hang out with in some way, shape, or form, even if it's just like, us talking on the phone like we are
Yeah.
right now. I say phone, but computer, whatever. And and like uh my mom has made because I live with my parents, my mom has made a comment where um sometimes if I go to bed earlier, she will tell me to like go back and get on the computer and laugh with my friends because she likes to hear me
Oh,
be happy.
oh, that's
And
so
it's just
sweet.
it is sweet, but then it's also like kind of sad because it's like, Mom, have I just not laughed in the past 3 years?
Oh,
And maybe that's it. Maybe because it's been so consistent
yeah.
that I've been like, getting to know professionals more and artists and just people and students and everyone. And um like it kind of, like sometimes you don't really know how badly you wanted or needed a thing until like you have it back, kind
Yeah.
of,
That's so true. Yeah.
similar to how like you don't know how good you have something until it's gone or whatever. It's the
Yeah.
same sort of concept. And I definitely still think that like I definitely still think that I'm an introvert. I'm not an introvert, an extrovert, sorry. Like total like identity crisis going on. No, I I definitely think that I'm still an extrovert. I think that when I have to like survive in a situation by myself, like I can take on a little bit more introverted like ways. But I think ideally, like just like the past couple of months have shown me, like just being able to play like video games with people on like almost a nightly basis or just talk to someone about how I feel about something or just showing people my art. Like I was
Yeah.
really, really thirsty for that. And it's interesting how like the way that this has been happening so frequently and consistently is because of Corona, right? Like if
Yeah,
not
that's true.
for Corona, everyone would be out doing their own thing and like existing, like going out to pubs or whatever. And like it's, even though like this virus has been awful and has, you know, like wreaked awful havoc upon like the whole world and like taken away family members and stuff, like the good that I've been able to find through this time period was just meeting like really good people and, you know, being able to feed my soul in a way that it
Yeah.
hasn't been fed in a long time. So that's what I learned about myself so far this year. Um,
That's
and
very relatable.
yeah, it's nice to not feel alone. You know, it's
Exactly.
good.
That brings us closer together, even though we might not be in the same country or city or room, but that doesn't even matter at this point anymore. So broken down so many walls, I think, to even do that first step and approach people maybe and just be more socially active with
Yeah,
everyone that you might have not been before, because like
yeah,
it's difficult to put it this way, because you know everyone's kind of in a similar circumstance maybe in some way or the other. It makes it a lot easier, I think, to become more open to that idea.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
So we're going to stop right here and take a little short break, but we will be right back.
Welcome back to All Inclusive. Before the break, we talked about a bunch of stuff. I don't even know if I want to attempt to like summarize anything. But like kind of moving into the next sort of topic, what's something that you wish you would have known before starting this year?
Ooh. Um,
I want everyone
that's...
to know that it was Jasmine who wrote these deep questions, not me.
I
So
know.
so you having a hard time answering it is what you get.
I know. No, it's because I always think like it's nice to reflect on everything after before moving on to the next year. So I really wanted to get like see how we would answer to this. So yeah, that's it's pretty deep, because usually I don't get to answer anything like that
Yeah.
on a daily basis. What would I've liked to know before? I think I should have known before that it's okay if I fail at some things, that I shouldn't set these high goals for myself and be like, you need to achieve them right now and at this instance. And just be like, even if you set these goals for yourself, you're not going to maybe achieve them, then that's okay. Because I wish I didn't have these expectations for myself from the start of the year. Because especially every time a new year starts, everyone is like, oh, you need to have these goals. And what's your goal for this year? What do you want to achieve? And having like this set out plan, and I never usually have that. But with this year, I kind of thought, oh, let's have this for once. Let's see if I can make it. But with this year not being very normal, I think it just threw me off a bit, and the stuff I had in mind for myself. So I wish I would have known before that maybe it's okay if I just try to wing it a bit instead of trying my hardest to stick to the plan I had at the start.
Yeah, like nothing this year did not go according to plan at all. I think for a lot of people. And um trying not to be so hard on yourself despite everything is really hard. So it's interesting that like you kind of brought up like the failure thing is like what you wish you would have known that it's okay to do, because it sounds kind of like a no-brainer almost. Like of course it's okay to
Yeah.
not hit goals, but I guess like when you are ambitious
Mm-hmm.
and when you have, you know, like goals for yourself, you kind of feel like it's like you can't do anything but hit
Yeah,
it. And if you don't
exactly.
even, like, even if you make it close, like, it's not good enough sort of feeling, which is awful.
Yeah, yeah. That's the thing, because it's not even, sometimes it wasn't even me setting these expectations for me. It was even like just people around me saying like, "Oh, your last project was so nice." Like from last year, for example, there was something I didn't know. Like, "Oh, this is great. I can't wait to see what you do next." And then this sentence sometimes set off this like little thing in my head, and it's like, "What if my next thing will be shit?" And then these people will be like, "Oh, there you go. She didn't make it. It looks crap. It's awful.
Oh
She's a
no.
failure. So why did we even expect something nice or something?" And this kind of
Mm.
pressure is nice to have, because obviously I'm really grateful when people are kind to me, and I love that, and it really gives me strength. But at the same time, it puts like an extra pressure onto myself that I need to do something good for my next project that I'm doing, and it needs to be better than last time. But I learned this year that it's okay if it's not better than the last one. Like, just chill. Like, nobody cares in the end. Nobody's gonna like go on my track record and be like, "Oh, I told you, I'm expecting this thing from you. Why didn't you do this?" It's like, it's not like
Yeah.
that. It's just me in my head making up these scenarios that what people are thinking and what I should be doing, and that probably adds to the list of things what I have learned about the way I think and feel about my own work versus what I tell people, like my friends, and encourage them. But these encouragements don't ever apply for myself. Like, they're always separate from what I suggest people should be like feeling about their work, or like how they should treat themselves.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Like, I think for me, something that I wish I would have reminded myself is like, um, kind of my potential for progress, sort of. Because, like, when you are kind of in the trenches, just keeping your head down, doing work, it can be kind of, um, it's easy to kind of look at all the stuff that you have to do rather than the stuff that you've already done and how you've already improved. And that can be like a huge point of like me getting down on myself. Because I'm like, oh, like I want to be making work like the senior environment artist person who's been working at it for 5 years. And
Exactly.
and like if that's like my goal or that's what I want to do, rather than looking at like how much progress I've made in the past like year and a half or whatever, almost 2 years now. Like it's been a lot. And it's kind of hard to let myself win in that sort of regard. Like I don't think like a year and a half ago, or not even I don't think, I know a year and a half ago, like I could not do the stuff that I'm doing right now. And I wish that this year I would have given myself more like pats on the back for the stuff that I
Hmm.
have done, because like you're always afraid of this sort of like complacency sort of thing. And I wish that I would have been nicer about like congratulating myself for the stuff that I have done, you know? And I think had I kept that in mind before I started this year, that, you know, this year would have been a lot easier, because a lot of my anxiety, kind of looking through like my journal from last year, a lot of my anxiety is about work. Um,
Hmm.
like I was scared about not being able to meet my goals, and I was being very avoidant with work, and not really, like, because I was afraid I wasn't putting in time like I should have. And like now that person, like, um it's that person definitely is still there when I like meet challenges, but she's not there as much right now, because like I've grown, so I wish I would have like wish I would have reminded myself this at the beginning of the year, where I've like come from and how far I've come, I think. um
Yeah, that's super important. I think everyone should always keep that in mind, to realize that you have grown, and also appreciate yourself for having achieved that, because it's not easy to change, and it's not easy to adjust and learn things, especially when it's about your own traits. Like, I've seen that in
yeah,
myself as well, because I had some traits that were difficult to get rid of. But I've been trying my hardest to get rid of them this year, and it shows. Like, I did change in some ways that I wouldn't have thought I could. But putting
yeah,
in that effort pays off, and it's important to remind yourself of that as well. Not just be like, "Oh yeah, it's normal that I've done this." No, it's not. Some people don't maybe put the effort into improving in that way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just giving yourself a pat on the shoulder is nice.
Yeah, if you can manage it, everyone out there,
Exactly.
be a little bit more proud of yourself. Like, and it's always like it can be an uphill battle, but I think appreciating yourself is one of those things where it's like it's really worth for you to put in that time to yourself, like that effort, that emotional effort for yourself.
It's self-care after all.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
like putting on a face mask or something. It's
Oh
the
yes,
same.
oh yeah.
Moving on to wrapping up the year, basically, is there something specific that you are grateful for, especially now that we are approaching the end? Like when you review everything that has happened, is there something particular that you're super grateful about?
I you know, like looking back at my 2020 goals, one of I have, you know, like I think I read you a couple of them. Like I had like do more blog posts on there. I had finished like environments on there. I had study Japanese on there. What was not on there was starting a podcast.
There you go.
Not on there was starting a podcast, but I think it's one of those things that I am definitely like grateful for, like finishing out the year, because it's been something that I've wanted to be a guest on a podcast before, and it was something that I was going to be like trying to work towards, like just trying to get my art out there and kind of be seen as like someone who knows what they're doing and someone that people can like reach out to for like advice or about situations and things like that, so that I could be one day invited to come on a podcast. And then 2020 did like a 180 on me and just was like, what if you did it? Sort of thing. Which again, I wasn't expecting it. I don't know if you were expecting that either.
No, I wasn't. Definitely not.
It all happened so fast.
I know, it's crazy, but I'm so glad you were up for it, because I guess we gave each other like a nice push, because there was like the seed that was there, but not maybe the courage to act on it. And it's good to always have each other to do it, because by myself, it just would feel kind of weird. I don't know. There are people who obviously do it by themselves, but I think it's always such a nice energy to have two people from two different backgrounds, from two completely different parts of the world, hosting this. It's something I didn't see before. And then it's always this question, then why don't you just do it? If you don't see it, then do it.
Sort of like, yeah, for sure. And that's kind of, it's been like a great experience so far, like obviously getting to know you a lot better and getting to know the people that we've had on a lot better. And then just, you know, like I don't know if anyone can, you know, relate or sense this, but I just love to talk to people. And so like getting a chance to kind of talk about things intelligently, about things that you know I kind of am like really concerned about or really interested in, has been really great. And then probably the second thing that I'm really grateful for has been obviously like my support group with my friends, because without like my support group, like with people like you and others that, you know, like I could just go on and on mentioning, like I could not have come as far as I have this year. Like without the help of my mentors or whatever this year, I could not have made my project what it is right now. And you know, the difference sometimes, I don't even know if I want to say sometimes. It feels like the difference between success and kind of like missing the mark is support in whatever sort of way, you know, like whether that's financial from family members, or like emotional from your friends, or artistic from like mentors and colleagues and things like that. And so being able to have that support has been, you know, unmatched, as they say.
No, I completely agree with you. It's for me the exact same. It's on one hand the podcast, because it's just such a great experience. I never thought it would be possible to do something like this by yourself, especially being somebody who listened to podcasts like all the time. I didn't think that we could be like on the other side of this and having people listening to us. It's kind of surreal. And on the other hand, it's also my friends and my family. Because without them this year especially, I've got to know so many new people that I'm able to talk to and open up to, which was used to be super difficult for me. and having also being able to talk about these things on the podcast with you so openly helps me a lot. It's almost like some sort of therapy, I think, in a way. Just to get these thoughts out there, to articulate them, as you said, in a way that is different than just thinking about them yourself or just typing them out in the chat. It's really different. So that's what I'm super grateful about. And another thing I'm really grateful about is how excited my mom always gets about the podcast. She's so sweet because she doesn't really understand English that well, but she still just listens to it. Like,
really?
Fully.
Oh no,
and
that's so cute.
It always warms my heart. But she's generally so supportive. Like, she always really supports what I do, which I think is very rare, and I'm really grateful that I have somebody like this in my life. And especially this year, she was a big part in how I could continue doing what I like, and like, she never pressures me into doing anything that I don't enjoy, which is great. So yeah, that's what I'm always grateful for. I guess that's also due to the fact that I have a super small family. It's basically just my mom. So that's always something I'm grateful for every year when she's around.
For sure. I only just recently told my parents that I even had a podcast.
Really? And
yeah, I didn't tell them from the very beginning. I was just like, let me just let a couple episodes like kind of drop, and then time went on and stuff happened. I was like, maybe this is a good time to tell them. And you know, like they seem pretty like interested in it. And you know, my dad is like, oh, I can listen to this while I'm riding the bike in the morning. And I was like, oh, Dad.
Yes.
And like people from like my day job or whatever have been really supportive about it too. Like, they think it's really cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
To do that. So yeah, like that's been, I can relate in that sense for sure.
I think it's really a different, nice feeling when somebody who's not in the topic is even interested and excited about it. I think that's really sweet in a way. I also got like a message from a schoolmate that I didn't see in like, I don't know how many years, and she just messaged me and was like, oh my God, it's so cool that you are co-hosting a podcast. I didn't think you would do this. I was like, what? It's so nice. Like, just like these random little tokens of appreciation feel good sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
And now, moving on to the even more philosophical question for this podcast.
No more.
Do you have any specific hopes and dreams for the next year? Because I think it's really important to dream, even if those goals might seem a bit unattainable. I still think they're important to have, because it's such a nice feeling just to be able to dream about things you might be doing next year around this time. I just think it's a really...
Next year, I would like to finish this project that I'm working on. And I know that's sort of weird to have it as like a hope and dream, but sometimes it gets so hard that it feels like a dream, okay?
Yeah.
So that's why I'm bringing it up.
It's completely valid.
Yeah, I would love to have my project kind of done, hopefully like by mid-year next year. Mm-hmm. Like trying to give myself enough like room just in case some horrible life event happens. Hopefully not, but hopefully not. That would be great. And then after that, I would like to find some sort of like level of employment sometime next year with my project, because like the way that I'm planning on breaking it down, and I'm hoping that it will make my my portfolio a lot more lush. And hopefully catch the eye of someone sometime next year. So that's kind of like my goal for next year. Other than that, like after we get, you know, like COVID treatment stuff, like vaccinations or stuff, I would love to take a trip somewhere. I have no idea where, but I would like to go somewhere.
Yes.
And maybe I can still go to Japan. Who knows what's gonna happen? Maybe I can still go to Japan in October. That would be so great. Yes. So I guess that's on the list. And then last, I'm gonna try to take the Japanese language proficiency test again.
Oh,
next
nice.
December. Yeah, I've taken it at a certain level already, but I want to do like the next level up, and it's in December. So that's it for me. That's all I got. I have four.
That's amazing goals. I think I'm here rooting for you all the way.
Oh, thanks. Thank you. What about you? How are you doing?
I think my number one goal is finishing uni because I have my deadline in January, so it will basically count for the next year, I guess, even though
Yeah,
I
yeah,
started most of it this year. But I hope it will be done. I also have like this image in my head how it should look like in the end, and I really hope that won't end up just being a pipe dream and not come to reality. So
yeah,
I'll try my best to finish that. Second goal would be also employment, because I've been doing freelance part time on and off, but it's not the same like working somewhere. So I really want to decide where I want to work, if it's freelance, if it's in a studio, if I want to move. And the moving question is one of the biggest ones for me
yeah,
because I have no idea what COVID will be like next year, if it's that easy to even move away from here. So that's an ongoing thing. But I hope that next year at this time I'll be like, it's all done. I'm comfy in wherever I am, even if it's in the
yeah,
same chair. I don't care as long as I'm
yeah.
happy. And the third goal is also traveling because we wanted to
Mm.
go to Japan this year and we even had everything
Oh,
booked, but it just didn't work out, obviously.
yeah,
So hopefully it'd be amazing if it would also work next year, autumn, because I don't see it working out in spring.
yeah. No.
That seems very unrealistic, even though people are saying they might open up again. But I don't want to be the first batch of people going to
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah,
travel
yeah.
somewhere. That's
For sure not.
not in the cards. But yeah, traveling for definite because I just need to do it. I really miss
We
traveling.
must see the world.
Exactly. Like especially now, I don't know. I just really want to do it while I can, and yeah, I just have like these little goals for also when I'm in Japan. I always wanted to like do specific fashion related things there because it's
Mm,
like my other passion, and I don't know. I just want to do these things I've been dreaming to do for so long. And the fourth, to end on a good note, would be I think just expanding my time into looking into other hobbies than art.
yes.
We
Yeah.
touched on this before one time, and since that conversation we had, it really sparked something in my head because I realized that I have a real lack of this in my life this year, especially. Like I just
Yeah.
made art my hobby, which is not healthy at all. And recently, I've been starting to read a lot more again, and also want to start learning languages again. And cooking is
Mm,
starting to take more time in my daily life activities as well. So it's just something I want to expand on next year and have dedicated times to my hobbies, so I can separate art a bit from it and not feel like that art is the only thing that my life has right now.
yeah, yeah. It's all about that balance, and having other
Yeah.
things to do is very good. For sure, for sure. I'm sure you'll find something. Do you? I feel like you did say that you wanted to learn Japanese, right? Like that was one of
Yeah.
your such a. I am biased, obviously, but what a great language to pick.
I know, right?
What a great place to start.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know. No, 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 no. Please do it. Please. I'm obviously like really supportive. I know
Oh.
I've spoken to Ryan briefly about
Mhm.
the same thing, and I just want more people to be able to speak Japanese so I can speak Japanese to them so that I
Yeah.
can live my best life, obviously.
Yes, exactly. No, that'd be
Yeah.
amazing. I'm also looking into
Yeah.
Korean at the moment.
I am learning Korean.
Really?
Yeah, I
And
am learning Korean also. It's like the grammar is very similar. So like
oh, nice.
if you learned one, like if you learned Japanese like really well, it's easy for you to hop over. So totally recommend you do that.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's nice. Okay, that's a good motivator to have, I
Yeah.
think.
Even some of the vocabulary words are very similar actually. Yeah.
I'll set myself to it. I will do it. I'll set
I
some
believe
time.
these are good goals for the next year, dude.
Yes.
And they're all
You
doable.
too.
Like, thanks. We got this.
We
Got this.
both got this. We will cheer
Yeah.
each other on.
Yes. Um, so I don't really I feel like that's it. So there's no need for any sort of like final thoughts or takeaways. So I'll just move into the thing we always end on. Like if you guys would like to suggest someone to join us on the podcast for next year. I know we already have like kind of a running list of people who have agreed to come on that we would like to get on and schedule in. next year. But if anyone else has any sort of suggestions for that, please send us an email at allinclusivepodcast@gmail.com. That's all inclusive, no spaces, pdcst@gmail.com. And they can be 2D artists, 3D artists, basically anyone who works in game development. We would love to have them on and have a little chat.
Thank you for joining us on the 4th episode of All Inclusive, the last for this year, and we shall see you next year, hopefully. And we hope that you had just as much fun listening to us as we did talking. You can find us on a couple of different social media channels, and you can find the links to that in the description or the main page of whatever you are listening on right now. The channels you can find us on are Twitter, YouTube, and Spotify. Thanks again, and we hope you join us for another episode of All Inclusive.